Hi, Bearded Man 69 here, and today I have Linux. So, yeah, I switched. Check it. Actually showing. Okay, good. Okay, I had to make sure it was showing. Uh, I switched to Linux. I'm using Pop OS, and you can see my desktop looks quite nice. So I'll show you the Neo Fetch here. Neo Fetch. Okay, there we go. We got our kernel here. We're using 3 gigs of RAM, as you know, should, because it got Steam and stuff open in the background. We're using the Linux Xanmod kernel, which is quite nice. And yeah, that's what we're using. So went round dark is our theme here, and yeah. So anyway, I'm gonna be going over good chunk of reasons why I switched, and probably be showing off some gameplay here. So, on Steam, I do have some games that I wanted to play. I have tried. I do have a sample of 3, or actually 4 games that I actually tested. First is Black Ops 3, Risk of Rain, Polygon, and then Call of Duty World. So, today I'll be showing off. I think I'll show off Polygon here. So, the Lop Shop options. Okay. Shit, I just opened up Black Ops 3. So, uh, me showing off of Black Ops 3 here. I'll show you the kind of the performance, the what schedule like boot parameters and stuff that I added to the kernel to reduce those mitigations. I do have a Skylake processor, which means those mitigations don't really affect my performance as much. I get past the intro. This game completely rapes your ears. I'm sorry. You know, no, it's that sometimes. All right, after getting past the connecting to the online services, uh, the I added, since Skylake processors are kind of, they happened after the whole Spectre meltdown flag thing. I think that I still reduced the mitigations anyway. I think I got a small performance increase, like maybe like 5-10%. That doesn't really sound much, but a 5% increase in performance is quite nice. So I'm going to be showing off a custom zombies map that I actually haven't loaded in yet. We're going to be looking at the stuttering, the kind of the frame rate, and some of the stuff that I've added too. So let's kind of go into zombies here. Let's go into there's a map called Dead High, which is kind of a it's kind of a weird school map. I actually haven't played it yet, so I'm gonna play a map that I'm very familiar with, and we're also gonna load a weapon mod to show you that weapon mods do work. So I have the Cold War weapons here. I'm going to add these and load these in. I do have a frame rate counter up in the top right corner right there, so you should be able to see what my frame rate is. I do have it capped at 64, but it is showing 61. Frame rate counter is kind of a bit iffy, so yeah. So let's go ahead and let's just play on. So there's no odd CPU cycles in between the internet, because that can happen. You're basically self-hosting a server, and sometimes you can get some CPU spikes when you are self-hosting a server. So that normally happens. That's kind of how this works, and how like most games work, to where uh, certain offload features on the CPU and how the internet works. It's just a term, because your CPU and your internet adapter have to work together. That's quite basic. So here we have some Cold War weapons here, and let's just go all the way down to start game. So here I got a Cold War pistol running around. The frame rate is smooth. The frames and everything else, there's no screen tearing because I do have something called forced composition pipeline. What this allows is, okay, we got a frame rate there. So what this allows is it allows at a small cost of latent mouse input lag and latency, you can get a non basically screen tearing experience. And also what works too on this game, you'll see, is I have FSR actually enabled. This is a really nice performance increase, as FSR is AMD scheduler. And look, I just got a fucking pack-a-punch pistol right away. Look. First perk again is a pack-a-punch pistol. Nice. You do see there are some frame rate drops with the pistols, but other than that, it works. It works quite well. So, what I normally get frame rate drops is when I look at this, but other than that, it works. And also looking down at this gives me frame rate drops too. As you see, it's not as doesn't go as down, because normally it'd go down to like 40 or so, and it's staying around. Yep, there it goes. It'll go up to like 40, and then it'll ramp back up. So Black Ops 3 works rather well. There is some initial stuttering when you do have you're loading in initially, like some maps, but it does smooth itself out when the maps load fully. I am using a version of Proton called Proton GE, which is a custom version of Proton made by Glorious Eggroll. So what this Proton does is it allows unofficial fixes, and it has access to things like AMD's FSR, and it also has access to different Steam launch parameters, basically. So I'll show you what those are. So right, let's go ahead and let's just hit Alt F4. So as you can see, games work just fine, or Black Ops 3 works just fine. I'll show you the boot parameters that I actually have. So here's my library here. Let's go ahead and let's hit clear. Here's the scheduled. So let's go to home here. Let's scroll to properties here. So these are the launch options that I do have enabled. So DXVK async allows for a different approach to how shaders cache, and also what I did too is over here where it's local files, or it's actually on Steam options here. So go into Steam options, go to shader pre-caching, and allow background processing of Vulkan shaders. This combined with DXVK async allows shaders to constantly be processed in the background. So, and also it won't flush those shaders either. So make sure you have that enabled when playing games with Proton. So, oh yeah, launch options. So async allows for more of a faster method of compiling shaders. Game mode is a CPU scheduler type program to where you can use game mode to put your CPU in a performance heavy state, or in the highest performance state that it'll go to. Wine full screen is of course FSR, and then some NVIDIA launch options like threaded optimization, and then the shader disk cache allowing you to have a OpenGL shaders, and also threaded optimization, which takes advantage of multiple cores of your CPU basically. And then make sure you put the command %sign, or the % command % at the end as well. So make sure you do that. Go to compatibility here, and then Proton GE. Now most people use Proton Up, I think. They use that to install a custom version of Proton. So anyway, that was me doing a short kind of snippet of Linux, kind of showing you off the kind of what I've done to the desktop. So I have the Fluent theme here. You see preview is currently disabled, so let's go back to workspaces here. So pressing the Windows key for me brings up this launcher, doing over here, and then also I can actually access the workspaces, the launcher, and then I can access all my applications here. So another thing that I have is this CPU GNOME extension here, I think, let me check what the extension is. I think it's, so install extensions. It is the CPU frequency extension by Concord, I think that's what his name is. So this allows for changing the scheduling or the power plan of your CPU up here. So the power profile here, it will remember these settings, and you can also change your power plans and do frequency boosts as well. So this tells you the what like your CPU I'm trying to say what like clock speed your CPU is at. So you can also change your performance governor here. Go to power saver, you can go to performance. You can also go to different ones here, such as balance, top performance. Also here it tells you what kernel you're using, what OS you're using, and also tells you what model and your CPU over here as well. It does give you an IRQ balance detected, which I don't know what that is exactly, but it also tells you how much memory is being used, system loading, and then it also tells you the swap space that you've used. I have 16 gigs of RAM, and Pop! OS gave me, I think, let me do an HTOP here, so HTOP. So Pop! OS gave me 4 gigs of swap space, which is plenty enough for a 16 gigabytes of RAM. Make sure you always do have a swap space though, because sometimes having a lot of programs in the background, and GNOME tends to cache programs in the background. Make sure you do have a swap space, because if you run out of swap, your apps might crash on you, or certain apps just won't work. So Pop! OS, it automatically has a swap partition, so you don't need to worry about that. I am hyper-threaded, by the way, so that's why it's showing all these 8 cores here. So yeah. So that's it for my kind of showing off Linux and showing off all the progress I made. And do you think I'll ever go back to Windows? Probably not. The Linux is definitely healthy, and I've definitely enjoying. When I had a old Core 2 Quad, I couldn't get certain games with I couldn't get Proton GE to work. I couldn't get Lutris GE to work. Now with new hardware and of course new community patches and stuff, all this stuff is working perfectly. So Linux gaming definitely has improved. Pop! OS is definitely a good OS to start off with for someone who's new to Linux. Me, I'm not new to Linux, so I already know what I'm doing. I already know what scheduler and boot parameters to use, other stuff. So anyway, I'll also get into real fast how to actually configure boot parameters on Pop! OS. So make sure you type in this command by kernel called kernel stub print config. This shows you, give me my password real quick. This shows you the kernel boot options that you currently have here. So these are the boot options that I have enabled. This is the mitigations off parameter, and then I also have the high precision event timer. This can prevent a good chunk of stuttering on Linux. So especially if you have an Intel chip. AMD chips, I have no clue if it does anything, but if you do have an Intel chip, I would recommend disabling HiPet, as my stuttering pretty much is very, very. It still happens, but a good chunk of that stuttering is gone. So how you actually configure the kernel stub here is you go to sudo kernel stub. I think it's add option, I believe, so. Or I forgot the command, but Pop! OS uses kernel stub instead of systemd or grub2, I think. So anyway, that is it for my Linux video. I hope you guys enjoyed, and I hope you guys enjoyed the intro, because that was a quite fun one. I just kind of just jumped at my chair there. So I hope you enjoy the new video style I'm going. I'm enjoying it as well. So anyway, I'm gonna go and play with my yeah. I'm gonna go play some games on my Penguin. Anyway, see you in the next one.